Well, good morning and welcome to the show. Jeff Beals here at your service. Glad that you have joined us on this icy road morning. If you are out and about today, be careful. Main roads are not too terribly bad, but the side roads are still a little bit dodgy. At any rate, we are brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center, along with Cheer Athletics, the nation's #1 all-star cheer gym. My co-host, Trenton Magid, has the weekend off. We allow him to do that every once in a while. And in his stead, we have a familiar voice, Brad Williams of Brad Williams Photography and E&A Consulting, a civil engineering firm. Good morning, Brad.
Hey, good morning, Jeff.
Well, before we go any further, I do want to give you a chance to promote a cool event you have scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. It's an annual deal, and a lot of our Grow Omaha listeners who have gotten to know you over the years might be interested in attending.
Yeah, so the last 4 years I've done, it's called Beer with Brad. It's a holiday pop-up, so I'll have all my photography prints ready to hang photos, everything that I would normally have at an art fair, but instead at a tent in the art fair in this ice. Tomorrow afternoon they will be in the party room at the Casual Pint, 87th Pacific, Countryside Village. So you can come in, order yourself a beer, and then browse prints, do some holiday shopping, relaxed environment. You might bump into some other Grow Omaha people there.
I know I'm going to be there.
Yeah, it's a good time. And, Lou that used to be on the Grow Omaha lot, he'll be there hanging out. And so it'll be a fun time.
Yeah, it's a chance for you to see a lot of Brad's amazing photography, and it is truly amazing. It's available for display or for sale, and then it's always a good time. Beer with Brad tomorrow, 1 to 5 at Countryside.
Yeah, and you don't have to buy anything. You can just come in and look. It's no big deal. And I have a little bit of everything, so small little prints that you could quickly get and give to someone, or if you need a big piece for the wall, I'll have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully some of the Grow Omaha listeners will come join us tomorrow, 1 to 5, Beer with Brad at the Casual Pint in Countryside Village. Well, let's go straight into our news, Brad. And as everyone knows, our news is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage, eaglemortgagecompany.com. And I got to tell you, I had the privilege last night of attending the Eagle Mortgage Christmas party. I always love the Eagle Mortgage Christmas party. Todd Schneiderwind is married to Holly Schneiderwind. They own it. Holly runs the place. And Todd and I are longtime friends. And, they're a longtime sponsor here. Todd and I actually work together at NAI NP Dodge doing commercial real estate. And my wife has a mortgage broker license. She doesn't really do it much anymore. It's always been a part-time thing. And she just kind of does it in case she wants to do it again sometime in the future. But she has her license with the Schneiderwinds at Eagle Mortgage. It's just such a great, great company. But last night we got together, and it was tricky with the ice getting to the restaurant, but had a great time. Well, more importantly than that, though, if you were thinking about buying a house, and a lot of people are, we're at the end of the year. Some people are thinking, hey, 2025, that's the year I'm going to go get a new house. One of the first things you want to do is contact Eagle Mortgage. You can see them in person at 114th and Davenport or online at eaglemortgagecompany.com. That's eaglemortgagecompany.com. All right, Brad, the big news this week, it was announced that FNBO plans to sell its 22-story 1970s era main bank building to New Style Development for redevelopment.
Yeah, that's kind of been a rumor that we've been hearing for the last 6 months or so, the better part of this year. And I guess why, we heard the rumors, I was still a little bit surprised to see this announcement come out, but it's going to be cool. It'd probably have some awesome views. I've been up to the press club a couple times, and you can pretty much see all of downtown and surrounding areas from up there. So I think it's going to be a really cool project when it's done.
Yeah, I agree. New Style wants to turn it into 300 apartment units. The press club that Brad just mentioned will stay, and they will be a tenant like they always have been on the top floor. But then you'll have the apartments on most of the floors. Now, it's my understanding that New Style will really invigorate the bottom 2 floors, and those are going to be commercial. And I think that makes a lot of sense because with all of those, if you got 300 apartments, you'll probably have about 450 people living in there. So you'll actually have some people there that could be customers to the retail on the bottom 2 floors.
Yeah, and the bottom 2 floors are also connected to the Doubletree Hotel next door, and to the south, they're connected by tunnel to the First National Bank Tower. So there's more than just those 450 people that are going to be in there on a daily basis. So I think it really could be kind of the hub for the area.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you may be wondering, why is this even happening? Well, FNBO has moved all of their people out of that building. When they opened the tower in the early 2000s, they had the tower full and that building. Well, they don't need as many people down there because of work from home and hybrid schedules and not as much square footage per worker as there used to be. And so, you know, in these types of buildings, it's hard to get a 53-year-old building and turn it into suitable space for modern office work. You know, we need higher ceilings than we used to have because of all the technology in office buildings. So turning these things into apartments makes an awful lot of sense. It's not easy to do, though. And that's one of the reasons we're quite fortunate here in Omaha that we have New Style, Brad, that has a great track record of these types of conversions.
I would say New Style has done a great job turning some buildings that people probably would never have touched into some great apartments that seem to do really well. We have got a lot of questions on our social media about whether they're going to remodel the exterior of the building, and as far as we know, that hasn't been decided, and there's no announcement on that yet. Yeah,
the impression I get is it's very early in the process. In fact, I'm not even sure that the deal has gone through yet. Oh. And so, you know, it's probably, my guess is that New Style is probably determining a lot of those things. You know, with the Duo, you know, they're doing the Duo, which were the two Central Park Plaza towers. Those had to replace that they needed to replace all the windows on that project, and they're doing that. Who knows? My guess is they probably would have to. I mean, it's a 53-year-old building.
Yeah, I would guess that too. I sit next to a window in an 1980s office building. Let me tell you, on a windy day, there's a little draft, so can't imagine living in a situation like that.
Well, could you imagine if there was a way to engineer it so that you could have some balconies or something like that? I imagine it would be cost prohibitive.
Yeah, but it would be cool.
Wouldn't that be something if you could do that, or at least for part of it?
Yeah.
I imagine.
Rooftop deck, something like that.
Yeah, so we'll keep our eye on that. No timeline on the project for sure, other than the fact that the apartments could be open by 2026, according to a World Herald article. This would be about an $80 million project, which is no small number. And this also fits in because of where it's located. It'll be yet another one of those projects that benefits the streetcar. It's in that streetcar area of influence, which is another plus with it, because we are already about double the amount of projected development within the streetcar zone, and the thing is barely even started construction so far.
Yeah, I know people are a little concerned or upset about the whole TIF financing for the streetcar, but I mean, being this far ahead of projections already, it seems like there's so many good signs that it's all going to work out really well.
Yeah, it's really, really encouraging. And this is just, one of a parade of downtown projects that keep giving us a lot of reason for optimism that downtown will continue to grow and keep moving in a very positive direction. So a little further west, 84th and L Street, we have steel that has gone vertical on the food bank for the Heartland new building. Brad, this is the old H&H Chevrolet location.
Yeah, they completely leveled the site and started a brand new building. Foundation work's probably been underway for a couple months now, and then just this week the steel went up.
Yeah, we have a picture of it on growomaha.com if you want to see what that looks like. But that is no small project. We're talking 105,000 square feet. So that is not your run-of-the-mill food bank building. That's the size of a major warehouse.
Distribution center, yeah.
Okay, so then we have another story out of Council Bluffs. We have a developer planning to turn about 14 acres of greenfield space into a 280 apartment unit. What's interesting about this is that it is right south of the Sam's Club in Council Bluffs Metro Crossing Shopping Center. 4-story buildings, 4 of them all together. And, this is kind of a forgotten area that was built around as time went by.
Yeah, this particular lot, I think, has been vacant, so to say. I mean, there's not like it's been farmland or anything, but this is another project in that whole like Lake Manawa area that has been either under construction or announced in the past year. And I think just the proximity to Interstate 29 with all of their new shopping around there, I think you're just going to see more and more of these residential projects in that area.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Council Bluffs has been very actively trying to create some more residential development in the area, and this is another sign of that. And then finally, out in Valley, Nebraska, we've got a 64-acre development at 264th and Miggs Street. It's going to be called Valley Landing, and the grading and excavation work is well underway. There's going to be a lake in the middle of it. A lot of that out in Valley because the water table is so high. But we know the first occupants that are confirmed will be a DC West athletic complex, presumably for the DC West schools, and a Fairway grocery store. So Valley continues to grow.
There's another athletic complex going right across the highway. So Valley's quickly turning into the sports complex capital of eastern Nebraska, I think.
Yeah, definitely a lot of youth sports out there. And ladies and gentlemen, that is your Eagle Mortgage news of the week. You can learn more about Eagle Mortgage at eaglemortgagecompany.com. We're going to take our first break of the hour. And when we come back, we're going to bring on Eric Miller. He's a senior transit planner with FHU's Omaha office. And he's also our transportation writer on GrowOmaha.com. Eric's a great guy. He really understands what's going on in the transit and transportation world. And you're going to enjoy listening to him. We're going to talk to him a little bit about streetcar stuff, bus rapid transit. One of the first questions we're going to ask him is, how on earth do streetcars work when it's raining ice outside? So stay with us. Eric Miller is coming up. We have Brad Williams in for the Vacationing Trenton Magid. The show's brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center along with Cheer Athletics. And we'll be back in a moment right here on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to Grow Omaha. Jeff Beals sitting next to Brad Williams. Brad is substituting for Trenton Magid. We're allowing him to take a well-deserved weekend off. Brad, of course, with Brad Williams Photography and ENA Consulting, a civil engineering firm based here in Omaha. We're brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Cheer Athletics. Cheer Athletics is the nation's #1 all-star cheer gym, and that is soon to be an Olympic sport. Great opportunity for your kids or grandkids to get involved, learn leadership, learn competition, develop lifelong friends, and develop an awful lot of great memories. Cheer Athletics Omaha is located in Papillion, near Highways 50 and 370, and we highly recommend Cheer Athletics. All right, we've got our friend Eric Miller with us on the hotline today. Eric is senior transit planner with FHU, a company that does a lot of transit engineering and planning around the country. And he, of course, is in their Omaha office. And Eric is also the writer of GrowOmaha.com's transportation column. Eric, good morning and welcome back to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's good to have you back. And first of all, before we go much further, why don't you, for those people who haven't read your column on our website, tell people what they can find if they check out your transportation articles.
Yeah, absolutely. So I must admit it's definitely transit bias because that's the profession that I'm in. That's what I focus on. And what I try to do is bring everybody up to speed on what's going on with transit issues in the Omaha area, and including the streetcar project and other projects that are going on, and then also just some thoughts on other things that are happening nationally and how that could influence what we're doing here in Omaha.
So, Eric, you brought up transportation issues here in Omaha, and today we're having a lot of transportation issues with the weather outside. Why don't you tell our listeners how icy weather would affect a streetcar?
Yeah, that's a very timely topic, and one of the main advantages that we like to promote about rail transit is just the fact that it is mostly an all-weather mode. That there's not a lot that'll stop it from running, and so usually when we have events like this, and I should mention for people that might not know. I have a lot of background working for the Regional Transportation District in Denver, and we have an extensive light rail system, fairly similar technology to what's proposed for the streetcar. So on days like this, we just want to make sure that we keep the trains running because we want to make sure that we have the rails safe, and then also where there's overhead catenary wire, which is where the cars get their power from above the cars, that's staying clear and that there's not ice building up. And in slick spots, we have what are called sanders on the trains, where there's little boxes of sand, and the vehicles are smart enough to automatically release the sand under the wheels when there's traction needed, so to keep them from slipping, and then also to get you some traction for getting going. So those are the two main things that we do on weather like this that helps keep them running.
That's pretty cool. I don't think a lot of people realize that trains have the capability of doing that.
Yeah, that's all trains. I mean, dating all the way back to the steam engine. Rails are always slick, even if like a rainy day. So the sand has been around for forever, and it works perfect.
It's steel on steel.
Yep.
So if it was wet or icy, that would be an issue.
Right.
So Eric, tell us a little bit about your company and what involvement you may have in Omaha Transit.
Yeah, absolutely. So our company FHU is headquartered in Denver, and so that's where I started working for them was in the Denver office, and then decided to move to Omaha and try to promote more work here and get as there are more projects coming up. And so some of the things that we've been focusing on are and my experience most is transit planning. So that's planning new future corridors that are coming up, and then also one of my specialties is doing the operations work for it. So figuring out how these are going to run, how much they're going to cost, the operators that we need to staff them with, and then how are we going to get the funding, that sort of thing. There's a lot of intricate things that come in, but we've currently got some work in Omaha, Council Bluffs, and Lincoln for the transit agencies there. So that's been really very interesting.
So, and just so the listeners know, you grew up here. You have a very long time history with you know a lot about the history of the area and the streetcar. So it's not like you're coming in and just learning about our city. How about giving us an update on the current work? I see that the bridges are kind of the next thing on the list for, we've been doing utilities for a while now. Now they're going to start looking at a couple bridges. Yeah.
So, and as I mentioned, I'm involved a little bit in the Omaha streetcar work. Obviously, HDR has a lot of that work, but I've been helping out with some of the operations stuff. And it's getting very exciting because it's really getting real. You probably noticed the utility work that's going on out there. In 2025, we'll get into more of the serious construction work. The mainline track construction will begin in 2026, but what we're going to see this year in 2025, that's kind of a big deal, is the replacement of the Harney Street Bridge over I-480. And so that's to allow the streetcar track to go over the bridge. And this bridge is designated for replacement within 5 to 10 years anyways. And so this is a good time to replace it for the streetcar. And then next year, we'll have the Farnham Street Bridge replaced in 2026. So they're kind of the big mainline projects that you'll start seeing out there.
We're talking with transit planner Eric Miller with FHU. And Eric, so it'll take 2 years to completely rebuild the Harney and Farnham bridges over Interstate 480. Will we see other actual streetcar construction in other parts of the 3.5 mile route while those are going on? Will we see any steel rails going into concrete before the two bridges are done?
No, not yet. Like I said, that'll start in 2026. And then, ongoing is the utility works I mentioned. But what'll be really interesting is down by the CHI Health Center, you'll start to see the vehicle maintenance facility take shape, just kind of right there underneath the I-480, just to the north, squeezed in there between the I-480 overpass and CHI Health Center, which is called the Mecca Lot A, the parking lot right now. And we're doing the site prep work right now for that. The bids are due for the actual construction of it this week, so we'll announce soon who gets that, and that'll get started here soon, and that'll go through 2026, and our vehicles will start arriving in 2027. So we'll have the vehicle maintenance facility done just in time for that. So it'll be exciting.
Oh, okay. So I was down there about a week ago and saw all that dirt work there. That's just site prep. That's not building the actual building.
Right. Yeah, just some basic site prep, including utilities and getting the parking area rearranged and the curb and gutter stuff. And then we'll get into the real construction early next year.
Then where on this timeline do the streetcar stops start coming into play with the construction?
Oh, like the stations?
Yeah.
Yeah, those. Yeah, and they're called stops or stations. You know, with streetcars, they're more like what you'd see kind of like an orbit bus stop. You know, definitely more than your traditional just bus stop sign, but not as extensive as you know, like a light rail station. And they're spaced closer together than light rail lines. So usually we call them stops. Those will probably start coming up in late 2026, early 2027, along with the rest of the line. For anyone that's been to Kansas City recently, if you go down Main Street, you can see their construction, which is quite extensive. They're going to open their extension along Main Street next year. And but yeah, that all kind of comes together with the mainline track construction at the same time.
Okay, Eric, we're going to have you, if you don't mind, stay with us. We have to take our middle of the show break for the news. There's a few other things we want to chat with you on the other side, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Okay, this is we've got Eric Miller with us, Senior Transit Planner with FHU in Omaha, and also the writer of our transportation column on growomaha.com. Going to take our middle of the show break. We've got Brad Williams in here substituting for Trenton Magid. We're brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Cheer Athletics. And we'll be back in a moment right here on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals at your service. Trenton has the weekend off, and so in his stead we have Brad Williams of Brad Williams Photography and E&A Consulting. Brad does a lot of stuff for us at Grow Omaha, and probably the most common is substitute host.
Yeah.
But at any rate, we're brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Cheer Athletics. Dingman's has 4 metro area locations. Take such good care of your car. You know, if it's a big accident, yep, they do that. If it's a fender bender, no problem. If it's just scratches and door dings, they'll fix that too.
I'm going to guess they have a busy week coming up this week.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that.
After last night.
Dingman's better be ready to work overtime coming Monday.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, yeah, they probably are going to have to. Hey, we've got our Noddle Company's Commercial Real Estate Development Spotlight of the Week, brought to you appropriately enough by Noddle Companies. This is when we talk about things happening in or around one of Noddle's many area developments. And they've got a lot of them. Exarban Village, Builders District, Village Point West Medical Campus, Steel Ridge, River's Edge, and Council Bluffs. Noddle Companies is one of those firms that has played a huge role in making Omaha what it is today. And today we talk about perhaps their best known development, Exarban Village. And at Exarban Village, we have a new bank. It is called First State Bank. The actual address is 6457 Francis Street. And this is right in the DLR building. And I tell you, Brad, Exarban Village, they just keep getting better and better and better.
Yeah, we seem to end up there quite a bit. There's always something going on or just visiting one of the restaurants down there. But it's a great place for the whole family.
And First State Bank is based out of Lincoln and serves a lot of southeast Nebraska and now Exarban Village. And that is your Noddle Company's Commercial Real Estate Development Spotlight of the Week. You can find out more about Noddle by going to noddlecompanies.com. Well, we have Eric Miller with us. He is our columnist who writes about transportation on the Grow Omaha website. He's also Senior Transit Planner at FHU in the Omaha office. And Eric, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what might come next. You know, we currently have this streetcar system terminating on the west at about 39th Street, and we keep hearing that it could be extended into the Med Center sooner rather than later. Anything new on that front?
I haven't heard anything recently, but my understanding is that we're still working to get that going so that we can open that at the same time as the rest of the line, because it's not a very far extension. It's just a little tricky one because we have to figure out some grading issues and where exactly we want the stop so that it works well for the UNMC campus. But it's going to be a really, really good one to have because there's a lot of employment there, a lot of need to have a good transit into that site. And so that's something that we want to try to take care of here in the next few years before we open, so we can extend it into there.
So you brought up the grading issues, and Farnham Street right there is pretty steep. Is there a maximum grade for streetcars? We're going to, as this line extends to different parts of town, is that something we're going to have to take into account where these lines go?
Yeah, absolutely. There's some places that we've got, steep rail transit. Like there's a section in Salt Lake City that comes to mind over by the University of Utah Stadium. But generally, you want to stay under 5% grade. That's ideal, especially when you have days like today where you're slipping more, things like that. Otherwise, if you get past that, then you're looking at cable car technology or something else. so yeah.
So Eric, we keep talking about, okay, what would come next? Do we go North Omaha? Do we go South Omaha Zoo? Do we go airport? And then, of course, Council Bluffs really is interested in extending the line over the river all the way to their downtown. And lately, if you look at a lot of commercial real estate development news coming out of Council Bluffs, a decent amount of it is on what they call this First Avenue Trail, which is essentially where their streetcar line would go. It's almost like some of these developers are hedging their bets that might happen in Council Bluffs someday.
Yeah, absolutely. And I should mention that, one of my recent articles covered some potential extensions. And I should note that a lot of these extension options that are kind of close into downtown could also be good, like BRT options, where you could see something kind of like an orbit. So you have to decide on the right technology, just like any transit corridor. In Council Bluffs, they're very much interested in the streetcar. We're currently doing what's called a planning environmental linkages study, which is kind of a pre-environmental study that follows the Federal Transit Administration's guidance so that we can seek federal funding to build that corridor. And so we're following all the steps, and as part of that, we have to start from scratch and say, okay, we just want to connect downtown Omaha and downtown Council Bluffs. How should we do it, and where should it go? And so we've had a public outreach meeting that we had in October, and we kind of have to let the study follow that. So we can't come out and say, let's put a streetcar on First Ave, even though that's what the city absolutely wants. We kind of have to take a step back and then make sure that is what makes sense and what comes out of this alternatives analysis that we're going to be getting into this year, which will look at the different options. We're going to look at the costs and how it meets all the project goals and things like that. But very exciting to get to this point because we're getting closer and closer to a potential extension there into Council Bluffs.
So what kind of environmental study do you have to do when you have a strip of land that was railroad tracks from the 1800s all the way up till about 5-6 years ago when they finally ripped them out to put railroad tracks back in? What kind of, I guess I don't understand why so many studies on the impacts would need to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is definitely one of the hurdles and what makes transit projects take so long these days than before. But it's probably less saying like, let's see what the environmental impacts are, but more like making sure this is what the community wants and this makes sense. You just kind of have to go through that and just note everything so that the FTA is in agreement. All that, so it just takes a little bit of time. But this is we're trying to do this a little bit faster than other studies. So try to get through that red tape a little bit.
So a lot of the listeners probably don't know this, but Eric and I have gone way back, and we're both really into railroad history, and we know a lot about the railroad history of Omaha. And we talk about how many rail lines that crisscross the Omaha metro area that were ripped out that would be perfect for, if they kept the right of ways intact for light rail and stuff like that. It's interesting to see now we're going backwards and putting some of these things back in.
Yeah, some of our bike trails now, Eric.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. And I, one of the things I like to do for recreation is go running, and I'll go running on a lot of these old rail trails. And sometimes I think like, oh, this would be a cool transit extension through here. Or this is how this could make sense and that sort of thing. It's fun to think about. Well,
and aren't we talking about a possible, it might not be rail, it might be BRT, which is Bus Rapid Transit. Aren't we talking about an extension from the North Omaha Transit Center on Ames down to Midtown, like in the Saddle Creek area? Isn't that kind of on the drawing board?
Yes, yeah, that's called the Beltline, and that's one of those that I mentioned could be either bus or streetcar, kind of depending on, I want to do this analysis and figure out what the community wants, what makes sense, and do a cost analysis. But yeah, absolutely.
Well, Eric, we appreciate you joining us, and we also appreciate you writing these columns for growomaha.com. And for those people that haven't read them, you're really missing out. Eric is one of the foremost experts on transit in the Omaha area and a very good writer. You will be a lot smarter after reading one of his columns. And the current one and all of the past ones are available on growomaha.com. Eric, appreciate you joining us, and thanks for all the good work you're doing in making Omaha better connected.
You bet. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, and thanks for all that you do as well.
Well, that's our good friend Eric Miller, Senior Transit Planner with FHU in the Omaha office. We're going to take our final break of the hour, and when we come back, it's going to be the Perkins Kreitzer Construction Lightning Round. I'm looking at the list, and there's a lot on it. A lot of restaurant news, retail news. You don't want to miss any of it. Stay with us. You're listening to Jeff Beals and Brad Williams in for Trenton on Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Cheer Athletics on News Radio 1110 KFAB. It's the Perkins Kreitzer Construction Lightning Round, in which we talk about a lot of things in a very short period of time. Thank you to Perkins Kreitzer Construction for making this possible. In fact, I just talked with Dave Kreitzer, the grand poobah over there this week, Brad. That's Brad Williams. He's substituting for Trenton Magid this week. But yeah, I talked with Dave Kreitzer this week, Brad. And he told me, he said, hey, there's going to be some big news coming out on one of Perkins Kreitzer's construction projects, and that is Miracle Hills Shopping Center. This is the one on the west side of 114th Street that has gone through the extensive renovation. And we told you earlier that Draftcade and Funny Bone and Hawaiian Brothers are all going there. He said, Dave said, the big news there is that Perkins Kreitzer Construction is going to be starting renovations and build out very soon for the triumphant return of Guitars and Cadillacs. This was a place like back in the day. You're old enough. Yeah. Back in the day, Guitars and Cadillacs was an Old Mill South, a real popular, real big country western dance bar, nightclub type place. And they went out of business in 2003. And now this is, I think there's like a Marriott Town Place Hotel there now, and a hair place. But this was big. This was big back in the day. They're coming back. They will be in a space that was once occupied by Cilantros in Miracle Hills. And it looks like opening should be late spring or early summer. And that is your Perkins Kreitzer construction announcement for the day. If you want to learn more about Perkins Kreitzer, just go to P-C Construction or P-C construction.com.
So judging by the comments on our Grow Omaha Facebook page, I think there's a lot of people looking forward to going back and reliving their glory days once this place reopens.
Glory days. Some of those people don't quite have the dexterity, balance, and flexibility they had when Guitars and Cadillacs was open the first time.
They'll want to go home at 10.
We'll see how they do. And they're going home at 10. Hey, Brad, we got some construction progress with the Baby Bob Bridge at North Downtown.
The railings are finally going on, so hopefully by the time this ice melts and warms up in a couple weeks, and you'll be able to go from 10th Street all the way up and over the Baby Bob, the Big Bob, and over into Council Bluffs.
It's getting really, really close. Hey, the former Red Lobster restaurant in Metro Crossing Manawa Power Center area of Council Bluffs is becoming an IHOP. So just when you thought a building couldn't go any lower than Red Lobster, IHOP says, hold my beer. No, just kidding. There's nothing wrong with IHOP or Red Lobster.
Same company, though, right? Same
are they?
I believe they have the same parent company. Don't quote me on that.
That would make sense. So. Well, on the other side of the restaurant spectrum from IHOP is Pivot Prime, a new steakhouse concept that is going into the old Mahogany Prime Steakhouse building, 136th in California, just north of Dodge. And Pivot Prime will be from the same owners as Salted Edge, the very popular restaurant in West Shores. What is that, about 240th in Dodge, I meant to say?
In that range. Basically where Dodge Street turns.
Yeah, so that is going to be a real nice addition to that area. Santoro Restaurant officially announced a February opening date, 8601 West Dodge Road. This is the restaurant owned by Jesus Rivera. He's the guy that ran Rivera's Mexican Food at 120th and Blondo, which was very, very popular. And a lot of people were quite broken up when Rivera's went out of business. It's kind of coming back.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to this one. I like the new location. Jesus and I go way back back in the Guitars and Cadillacs days.
What?
We worked next door together at Gersani's.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
So you worked, he worked for Gersani's and
he
you
was
did too?
he was the kitchen manager
Really?
when I started there.
What'd you do at Gersani's?
Waited tables, bartended.
Really? I just went there and ate the little bread that warmed on top of those those candles. It was great.
That and the tomato soup are the two things people want back.
We've got Corn Coast Brewing, a Lincoln-based brewery, plans to open a tap room in La Vista. The exact address is 10717 Virginia Plaza. This will be next to Hot Works and near both Cross Strain and Pint 9 breweries.
Another stop on the Pentagon bike tour over there. But really looking forward to this one. They make some great beers. Really, if you're into those hazy East Coast New England IPAs, you're going to want to check this place out.
Yeah, a lot of people excited about this one coming up to Omaha. Taqueria El Rey is taking over a former Wendy's restaurant, 4161 South 84th Street. Renovations are currently underway. The original Taqueria El Rey is at 24th and Q in South O. Good, solid Mexican place, authentic, serves breakfast. I've been there several times. They also have a lot of food trucks around town, so that'll be a nice reuse and adaptation to the old Wendy's. Speaking of food trucks, Burning Bridges food truck will open its first brick and mortar location, or it just did yesterday, 145th and Center in the former Sinful Burger space. So we got a restaurant in there now.
I feel like a food truck with the name Burning Bridges has a Trenton joke written all over it.
If only was here to tell us. But unfortunately, the music's playing, which means we're going to have to stop it right there. Trenton will be back next week. But Brad, I really appreciate you subbing in this week.
Hey, I always enjoy it.
Brad Williams with Brad Williams Photography and E&A Consulting. Be sure to stop by Casual Pint and Countryside tomorrow from 1 to 5 and see Brad. That's it for this week. Have a great week. We'll chat with you next week at 9 o'clock right here on News Radio 1110 KFAB. If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.